Hey y'all, so I am back. Yes, I have the same shirt on because I've been recording the other one. But just like I said in episode 5 review, I don't have my notes for this one, so I'm gonna just be going off the dome with this one. Episode 6, just like I said in episode 5, Ingrid, that bitch, Ingrid, that hoe, I knew she was a snake. I knew she was a snake. I'm gonna get to her, but to give some background, before the end of episode 5, we see, well, yeah, back in episode 5, we see where Ingrid calls Charlotte for help on how to house Hank, because she's already spoken to Hank before. So Hank knows that he has Charlotte in his corner. When Dick finally gets back to the little, not the hideout, but the new place where the black soldiers are chilling and hanging out, he want to go in the back and just drink and get away from it all. And they're like, no, we can't really go back there. And we find out that that's where Hank is at. That's where Charlotte has gotten Hank like some safe refuge at. Dick don't really like it, and we can tell that Dick is kind of like, I don't want to be part of this, and he leaves. And so he goes back to the base where he done drunk himself into a stupor, and Leroy approaches him pretty much, and he's like, what did you see down there? What was going on? And Dick is telling him pretty much the same thing he told Shaw, like, this thing that we're trying to contain is much stronger and much bigger than we understand. It is best to leave it alone. Leroy's like, no, we have a job, we have to do it. And Dick is like, I don't give a damn. Like, I don't give a rat's ass. And Leroy is like, I'm your superior. You can't talk to me like that. And Dick is like, get out. And in that moment, it's like we can see where I can kind of see where somebody can call Leroy like a sellout, and I don't think it's because he wants to be a sellout. I genuinely believe, like, at this time in the '60s, we don't know what we know now, that, oh, going along with these things, even with these provisions in place, these hateful people are still amongst us, still working the same how we're working for our freedom. They're working to upend those freedoms. So I'm pretty sure in Leroy's mind, he's like, if I just play the game and play by the rules, I won't have any problems. And it's like, no, that's not gonna happen. So we see the kids. I can't remember how the kids ended up there, but mind you, everybody makes it out. And Lily was like, we got to go back down there now that we have this dagger, because this dagger is what kept him from getting me. And so now that I know that, we can go back down there and, like, I guess, kill it so that it'll be over with. Ronnie like, bitch, no. We almost got. We almost got by the thing, and we could almost got popped by Will's daddy. And you talking about we go back down there? And she said they should have never let you out of Juniper Hill. I'm telling you. Damn. They don't be letting up on Lily, but they understand, like, she's upset. And Marge and Rich kind of, the group is a little fragmented now, and Rich is like, this is what the thing wants. It wants us to be angry with each other. So everybody kind of breaks off and give their own little woo side. Rich is with Marge, and they end up getting, I guess, more closer as she's trying to change the bandage for her eye. That was one thing I was like, this is so unsanitary. She changing her bandage outside at that little hideout. I know that little new bandage she put on was dirty, but he got to see her eye, and he was like, it's cool. So Will finds out where because, okay, so Will follows Ronnie, and he's like, you kind of, he didn't say it, but kind of like alluded, like, you was a little hard on her. Charlotte happens to see Will walking, and she's like, get in the car, and she tells Ronnie to get in the car too, and she drives them to the black soldiers hangout, and she takes them back there, and she takes Ronnie to see her daddy. and Ronnie sees her daddy. And up until then, I mean, ever since then, she doesn't leave that place. She stays there with her daddy because she's like, I miss you. And we see throughout the episode that Ronnie's daddy takes a liking to Will, and he feels like whatever made anything happen to him, he likes the fact that Ronnie has a confidant in Will, and having someone who will look out for her, and also with Will having Charlotte. Like Charlotte is Will's mama, so in his mind, he feels as if he knows his boy comes from good people, and he starts talking about movies and stuff like that. We also see that Will ends up bringing Rich and Marge to the hangout when they come see Ronnie, because they trying to convince Ronnie to for all of them to go back down there one more time. And Ronnie's very stubborn. She like, no, like it's too dangerous. She was like, I just got my dad back. I'm not about to go back down there. So, they still trying their best to convince her. Rich and Marge, they legit hanging out at this little juke joint almost. They done fixed them a little Coke. And they was like, this the Coke tastes like freedom. And they was like, I don't know, this Coke don't taste right. We don't know if it was liquor in it or not, because they was just serving up liquor to the other adults. They over there singing, jazz. One of the drummers was so drunk, because Rich has these damn, why can I remember these names and stuff right now? His drumsticks in his back pocket. And they like, hey, little boy, can you get up on the drums, because our drummer is incapacitated right now. Rich up there freestyling, just the crowd loving it. Marge is like, okay, let me find out. Marge is interested too. So we see Lily. Lily is the only one who is like on her own. Lily, I'm pretty sure I'm jumping around because I don't have my notes right now, but Lily is, she goes to Ingrid. She's looking for, at this point, the kids are like, the rest of them like, it's you're a little too hot right now, pretty much. So of course Lily wants to go and find someone who can give her some refuge. So that's Ingrid. She knocks on Ingrid's door. Ingrid doesn't answer. So she goes into the lady's house, and she hears music playing, and she goes up to the attic, and it's obvious just throughout the music that's being played, nobody being in the home, the slow steps, like we know this is a scene that's gonna uncover some bullshit. And it sure the fuck did. Ingrid. We find out that Pennywise, because Lily's going through this photo album, and as she's going through it, Ingrid comes home and she's like, Lily, what are you doing here? And she was like, well, I needed someone to talk to and you weren't here. So you just walked up that lady's attic? Like, that's another thing. Like, you just walk in that lady's house. I mean, I know back in the day, people left their doors unlocked and they left their kids outside. But you really just walked into this lady's house, Lily? So she's talking, and you could tell, I think she's already picking up that Lily is very apprehensive about what is going on. Lily herself is picking up on something's not right. She went through the photo albums, and she saw a man whose head was shaped like Pennywise, like this big ass dome. And he's in a picture with this little girl. And she sees other pictures around as Ingrid is hugging her and everything, kind of like trying to, soothe her. And it's revealed to us that Pennywise was originally a man who worked at the circus, and he was Ingrid's daddy. Pennywise is Ingrid's daddy. And Ingrid said that there were things that happened to him, I guess because of the circus, and that was why she didn't have her daddy anymore. And I guess, I don't know, it's given that maybe the townspeople killed him or whatever. And so she looks over and sees like the little clown hat And Lily puts two and two together. She was like, "Was that you?" And um Ingrid gonna say, "Yeah, that was me. That was I was So she was like, "It was you in the crypt. It was you dressed up as a clown in the crypt." And she was like, "Yeah, I followed you kids and I was just wanting to see what you all knew and what you were going to do or whatever." So it's revealed that the clown that's in the picture that Will took is actually Ingrid's ass. That's not even the Lord Jesus. That's not even all. So we get a flashback to 1935. And that's another thing. How old is Ingrid supposed to be? Because the flashback to 1935, Ingrid already looked like she was probably about in her 30s. So I guess now she's supposed to be in her 60s, because if that's the case, she looked good as hell to be in her 60s. She really giving like late 30s, early 40s. So I'm like, how old is this woman supposed to be? But we see her when she is in 1935, and it's this little girl. I think her name was Mabel. She was a little girl at Juniper Hill, and she was saying how she heard things in the pipes, and the thing kept telling her to come down to the pipes at night. And so the doctor's like, "That's not real. There's no clown in the pipes." Ingrid overhears this, and she's like, "Mabel, come down here with me so we can figure out." She was like, "This thing told you to come down." So she goes down there with Mabel. Mabel is scared. She probably doesn't know what, about 5 years old. And so she's holding on to Ingrid's hand. And so they go down there into, like, the steam room and everything. Like, they are below. They are in the tunnels. We see the red balloon. And we see where Pennywise comes out and grabs the balloon. And we see this steam come over. And we see it come out and like scare Ingrid and Mabel. Mind you, Ingrid is like, "Mabel, nothing's gonna happen to you." So they end up running. Ingrid runs into this room to close the door, but Mabel falls behind her. So Mabel is on the outside of this door. I'm like, "Bitch, why would you close that door? You knew that little girl was not in there with you. You knew that little girl was not in there with you, because you knew you didn't have her hand, and you for damn sure knew she didn't. You didn't feel her body walking beside you no more. Like, you literally led that little girl to her death, because Pennywise sees them. The door can't open, so he attacks Mabel, and we hear like her bones and flesh tearing, and then we see this pool of blood. And it's like, "Bitch, you really set that little girl up to get killed." Like, that's how I feel about Ingrid. Like, you really let that little girl die. And then we see Pennywise come back up in the mirror of the door, like it's like this little window. And now Pennywise has taken the shape of her daddy, like what he used to look like. He doesn't look like the clown. He like her big head ass daddy. And he's like, "Open the door. It can open. It can open." And she goes to try to open the door, and I can't remember what happened after that. But we still gonna find out Ingrid ain't shit. So we find out Ingrid ain't shit when we get towards the end, when we get toward throughout the episode. So now everybody knows that Hank has escaped from the bus when it was attacked on its way to Shawshank. So now there are wanted posters everywhere. Ronnie has one of those wanted posters, and you can just see that this girl is going through it, just like emotionally. And that's another thing that I've been catching up on, that I've been catching in the show. Like, the the women, or the women and the young girls, they have this like undying loyalty and almost obligation they feel to their fathers, to the point it's to their own detriment. Like, Lily, her daddy dying, and how he died in the gears, is always taunting her. It's like it's eating away at her mental. Ronnie only has her daddy. She don't have a mama. Her mama died in childbirth. So her daddy is the only parent that she has. And so she is like, she's literally going through her childhood, her teenage years through extreme stress and trauma, really trying to figure out how to keep her daddy alive for something that she knows he didn't do. And then Ingrid essentially is hunting kids essentially to feed this thing that is feed this like awful spirit that is her daddy, because in her mind it is her way to be close to her daddy again. And it's almost like, for Ingrid, it's almost like a deep longing, but also kind of colored with a little bit of, I don't know, I don't want to say romanticism, but it's like this, like almost like sugary sick desire to have the love of your father again. And I just keep noticing that, like, these women, like, they just have this everyone has this like relationship that's with their father that is strained in some type of way, or that is under so much stress and scrutiny in some type of way. So Lily, mind you, when she was talking to Ingrid, she was like, pretty much like, you knew I was down there or whatever. She was like, I would never do anything to hurt you. And Lily was like, but what about my friends? And Ingrid was like, well, you know what it's like to lose a father. And you know what it would feel like if you could just give anything in the world to have him hold you again and to love you and you be his little sunshine again almost. And it's like, that's the part where it's kind of like, it's almost kind of bleed into a little bit of romanticism, like trying to romanticize the obsession in a little bit. And Lily is like, no, girl. So she runs out the house. She strikes Ingrid on the hand with the dagger that she still has, and she leaves. And when she's riding down the street with her on her bike, you see this bloody handprint on the back of her shirt. Ingrid contends to be an ain't shit ass bitch because the police sheriff, they're at the little bar with the white guys, and they're like, we can't find this Hank Grogan. We've looked everywhere, this and that, and we can't find him. He has to be somewhere. We have to look again in the tunnels. And so the sheriff who used to work at the police department, we find out that he's fired. And he was like, there's nothing I can do now. I can't even give this man a ticket because I've been relieved of my duties because I've been told I wasn't good at performing them. I.e., you took forever to arrest this man and then he got away. So you didn't do your job. But he's like, I know where he's at. I got a tip from a woman. I know exactly where he's at. The episode ends with, mind you, the kids, Ronnie, Will, Marge, and Rich are in this juke joint, like in this, hangout place with the soldiers, and they're all drunk. So, they inebriated. They having a good time, just having some swing jazz and everything. And we see all these trucks pull up with these angry white men with guns and masks on their face. And one of the soldiers is outside with, a woman that, he's interested in. And he's like, get behind me. And one thing that pissed me off about that is, like, if you're going to run up on somebody to try to scare them and, like, I'm going to take your life, take your fucking mask off. If you so bad about it, let me see your face. If you here to try to take something from me, especially take someone's life, look them in the eye when you do it. Let me see your face. Like, that is such a bitch move to me. But we find out that Ingrid is the woman who gave the tip on where Hank is at. Ingrid. And now that makes sense to tie back. Was that episode 3 or 2 when when Hank was in the jail and the sergeant came over there to offer him cigarettes, and he was like, I don't really, pretty much like, he doesn't really smoke Pall Mall. I prefer Embassy Gold Sweets or whatever. And he was like, oh, that's interesting because we found this by outside of a bushes. And then we got a tip from a woman who says that they saw you. You weren't at home. This is Ingrid's ass. The bitch that you've been fucking is the one that is setting your ass up to get killed. And it's like, it almost feels like, is she setting him up because she knows he has so much access to children through his daughter Ronnie and through his profession working at the theater? Like, the kids are always at the theater. It's like, I wonder why she picked Hank to do this to. But it's like, Ingrid, you raggedy ass bitch. You over there fucking this man, and then you set him up for some shit that you know he didn't do, and you set him up for shit that I feel like Ingrid probably is the person, might not necessarily killing these kids, but she's the person that is making these kids available to Pennywise for him to attack. And it's like, Ingrid, you ain't shit ass bitch. Fuck that hoe.